So the next thing we're going to talk about is, and this is a question I get all the time, is is Supertrend strategy profitable? Is the algorithm or the algo bot profitable? And the simple answer to that question is yes, it is profitable, depending on your optimization of the strategy. Um, you know, remember that the parameters that you have set, that the parameters that it comes with, may not be optimized to the current trends of the market at the moment. So you may need to optimize. And how do we optimize that strategy or that AlgoBot that we just downloaded it and uploaded it into our Ninja Trader is by optimizing it based on historical data. So the easiest way for us to do that, and luckily, Ninja Trader, this is why the reason that I use Ninja Trader is because it has those features for us to go back to test historical data, whether it's a month, a week, 5 months, a year, 10 years, 20 years, and we could back test all that data to see whether, either in the long run or in the short run, to see if this strategy is profitable or not. Okay, so I want to make this very, very clear to everyone. When you're downloading any algo bot, if it remains uh, consistent with the parameters, 9 times out of 10, that algo bot will not be profitable because of the trend markets that that change throughout the course of time. So it's never stagnant. It's never the same. To have the same market conditions that we have, we may have a volatile market, or we may just have a consolidation market that's not showing any trends, that's not showing any volatile, um, you know, uh, uh, sentiment. And it's very, really hard for us to uh, be profitable during those times. So, with the trend strategy and with the optimization, it's very, very critical for the user to know that goes hand in hand um, to determine this algo bot to be profitable. And one way that I do, what I do is every Monday, I do optimize my algo bot. It might not change a lot as far as the parameters, or it might change um, based on whether we had a very volatile week, or we had one week where it was consolidating, another week where it was volatile. Then again, that's going to change the parameters on my algo bot. So the easiest way for us to do this, you go into strategy analyzer, um, and then in that feature is going to allow us to optimize our algorithm bot based on our historical data. Now, I'm not going to go back too much because, just for the sake of time, it does take a while for us to pull that data and get that data in, and then test that data with with the parameters that we put in. And again, it does determine um, on the user and how much the user optimizes this algo bot. Now, there is this thing called over optimizing it, where you're overfitting the strategy based on the the last couple of days market trend. So just be very careful. I suggest that you don't optimize it on a daily basis, more so on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis, depending on how volatile or how the market change. And what I mean is, if it's heading towards a bear, it was a bullish market, now it's, we're heading now into a very bearish market. So that's one indication that you should be able to optimize the strategy soon, because the market trends have changed. So one thing that we use, again, we go to new, and then it's strategy analyzer, and then it pops up. And again, I apologize that my computer is running a little bit slow. I have a couple of things running in the background that might just kind of lag my computer a bit. So anywho, one of the things that I do is, you back test, right? You don't optimize it yet. We could do back test, and then super strategy 7, because that's our strategy that I have on Fiverr. And then this is the settings that we have loaded up. And then this is basically what I have set up. I've noticed that on higher time frames, the strategy is very profitable. For example, here I have from January 1st, I'm sorry, January 29 of 2020, right, to March 27 of 2021. And here we're going to go ahead and select the NQ, which is a NQ, right? And expiration date is June 21st. So anyway, so what it does is going to measure a whole year by year in a couple months. It's going to back test based on my parameters, right? This is the parameters I have set out. I optimized it. I went back and optimized it for the last 5-6 years, and I saw that this was the best parameters for this trend, for this market trends that we have now. So anyway, so go ahead and back test based on my parameters, and let's see what we get. And I'm going to explain what each of those things. So NinjaTrader in itself is very, very overwhelming for some, just because of the many features they have. And again, we could be here for hours explaining what each of those parameters mean, each of those features and reports that it gives you. Like for example, what R square means, what Sharpe ratio means, what profit factor means. So what I'm going to do is not overwhelm you with all those things. What I'm going to do is, kind of give you the things that I look out for to see if the strategy that I have optimized is a good strategy for the current market trends. So here I have it for for a year and a couple of months, right? I ran it. Ultimately, they had 69 total trades, right? And based on those 69 trades, the profit factor was 2. So pretty much we double our money. And the Sharpe ratio was at 56. So those two things, the profit factor and Sharpe ratio, is the two things that I look for. And then also the average trade winners. Your winners, should be bigger than your losers, right? Your average winners should be bigger than your average losers. So those things that I look out for, and this is a perfect example, right? The average winning trade is 4,000. Average losing trade is 1,800. Same thing here for the shorts, for all the short trades and the losing short trades as well. Again, bigger, your winners should be bigger than your losers, right? And how many winners and how many losers do we have? I had 35 winning trades, and I had 33 winning trades. So we're right at 50%. But again, if my winners are bigger than my losers, then I have no problems with that, because that's ultimately what I want, right? So if you go under analysis, you kind of see a nice, what I mean Sharpe ratio, it's a steady uptrend, equity curve that we're looking for, right? This is what I want. I don't want up, down, up, down, up, down equity curve. That's going to be crazy, just because it's very inconsistent with what kind of progress you're going to make, what kind of results you're going to have, because you could either have a good day or a bad day, but if you have a steady good equity curve, then you pretty much could determine what kind of outcome you're going to continue to have in a course of 2-3 years if it continues, right? So the chart here also gives you the actual trades, and I don't suggest for you to have the plot indicators turned on when you're back testing or when you're optimizing it, just because it does slow down the iteration when it's calculating the background and with back testing, it does slow it down. So I created this feature where it turns off the indicator and the software is able to run and back test or optimize the strategy without any hiccups, because it's not having the NinjaTrader software draw each of those indicators. It eliminates that and uses the computation and the parameters in the script and uses that formula to determine whether we're going to have a buy sell or a short sell, right? Okay, or a sell signal. I'm sorry. So it uses those things to determine. So what do I use to optimize? How could I make my strategy profitable, right? One of the things that I use is optimizing. You can optimize your strategy. So here, right, for just a super trend, so you could optimize by change your strategy by changing all of these parameters. One thing that I have to warn everybody when you're optimizing your strategy. If you optimize the strategy by changing all the parameters, you're not going to be able to do that. You have to do it by sections. You have to start with the super trend, and then you have to start with either the OTT on a daily or OTT on a 4 hour, depending on what you want to use, and then you work down. Okay, what do I mean by that? So here, the Supertrend strategy. So for the period, we could choose any parameter from 8 to from 1 to let's say 20, right? And it's going to basically um, test all those iterations to see which period of the super trend is the most profitable, right? Same thing with the super trend source, right? Is it going to be based off of a closed candle? It's going to be based off of a max candle. So it's going to go each one by one, and it's going to test all those iterations. So the more things that you want for the NinjaTrader to optimize and to calculate and to test what is the most profitable, the longer it's going to take for NinjaTrader to decide what parameters your strategy should have to best optimize the strategy. So again, this is you could super trend multiply. You could go from 1 all the way to 30, right? The OTD daily, same thing, right? You could change the parameters, right? You could change them all by one. And well, this is the 4 hour one. We're just going to do the daily. So again, let's just for sake of the video, we're just going to go ahead and go through each of those parameters. Now let's go in and do the plot indicator, because we need to make sure we have that false. The plot indicator is basically going to disable the drawings of the indicator, which is perfect. It's going to help the NinjaTrader software run a lot smoother. So we're just going to take that off. And then again, we could continue, right, to change a lot of these parameters. So basically here it's going to test stop loss ticks. Let's say we have it's going to test from 3. We had a stop loss parameters of 3 ticks all the way through 135 ticks. Here, same thing, from 2. Let's do 5, because 5 is a little bit, actually 10, right? Because 5 or 10, which is too tight stop loss or take profit. So we'll do 10, and it's basically what it's going to do is going to test each of them. It's going to test each of them. You could continue changing all those parameters, right? And it's going to, and we could do it in a section of to kind of and give you this quick example. So we changed a couple of things. We changed the super trend strategy. We changed OTT, which is the optimized trend tracker, right, on the daily. We also change the parameters for the stop loss and for the take profits. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 things that we change. And let's see. And then we also change the parameter. We actually condensed the time. So we're just running it for a couple of months. We're back testing it for a couple of months. We're not even doing a year. And let's see how long. And of course, we're optimizing it based on the max profit factor, right? So we're going to run and you're going to see how long. So here, based on those parameters that we change, is the software is going to take up to 3 days or 48 hours, and it's going to test all those iterations that we set, for the software to test each of those parameters, from take profits from 10 to 135, to take, stop loss from 3 to 135. And it just should be increments of 1. I apologize, increments of 1, because it's going to do it one by one, right? So it's going to take approximately about 3 to 4 days to get this finished, right? So obviously we're not going to wait. We're not going to do all this. So what we're going to do is, just for the sake of time again, let's do this one. I'm just choosing any one. So we're going to back test. We're going to optimize. Let's say I'm optimizing it. And then we're just doing the stop loss, right? So the stop loss, I feel like it's too small. Let's do 100. Actually, do 50, because I don't want it to take forever. So here we do 10. Oh my goodness, 10. And then let's do 50. Increments of 1, increments of 1, right? So we're just changing those 2 things. And for the time, we're going to do 21. Let's do January 21. January. Alright, so let's go ahead and run. Hopefully that doesn't see. So it's less parameters that we change. So it's going to give us the top 10 results, right? The top 10 results. Unfortunately, based on the parameters, based on the stop loss that I changed, it tested each of them and it gave me the top 10, right? The top 10 performance. So obviously we want the highest performance, but even the highest performance is still yield us into a negative. So again, this is the way we optimize in it. And it's very important that the optimization should be based on the market trends of that week. So I seen some users report back to me based off of bi-weekly trends. They've optimized their strategy every 2 weeks to kind of adapt to the market changes, and it has yielded them profitable results. So, and I've seen it where they're doing it on a weekly basis. I myself, I do it on a weekly basis. I optimize my strategy on a weekly basis, but I use historical data, tested, back tested up to a year, just so I could have more data in my strategy, and also determine and consider the trends of that current week. And I use those parameters to optimize my strategy. So this is one way that you go into your your strategy and determine what parameters, because if you go in here and just start putting any parameters in here, it's not going to provide you favorable results. You have to optimize your strategy, your algo bot, based on the market trends. Now, does this work with every ticker symbol, or does it work only with futures? Yeah, no. I mean, yes, it works with every future ticker symbols. It works with any Nasdaq companies. It works with pretty much with any company. If you have Ameritrade, if you have a multi-broker ninja trader that you're able to trade equities, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Teslas, the Apples. You're able to do that. Now, the strategies and the optimization parameters are going to be different. So you would have to optimize each of those ticker symbols for it to have the best parameters. So you would have results that will be in your favor. You do not want to use the same parameters for every ticker symbol or for every futures. If you're trading the NQ, if you're trading the what's the one? Freaking brain fire. ES. I apologize. The ES or the micros, right? Or trading crude oil. You need to make sure that you optimize your strategy to best fit it market's trends of that equity or futures that you're trading. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Hopefully I didn't go overboard on how this strategy works, but it's very important that you pretty much know the gist of how this works and how you determine whether this strategy is profitable or not. It's very important for you to understand that obviously it depends on the user. So this question is brought up a lot, and the simple question to the answer is yes, it is profitable, but it really depends on the user and how well the user optimizes the strategy. Okay, all right, thank you.